What's the most desperate thing you've done to get laid? I once tried to impress someone with my world-famous microwave dinner cooking skills. Needless to say, it didn't lead to any culinary romance, but hey, it's all part of the journey, right? What epically stories do you have on the matter? Tell me in the comments section. Story 1. I'm about to put all you mugs to shame. Dressed on only my shoes, silk boxers, a coat and gloves, I stole my brother's car to go see my girl. I jumped the back fence and go to the back door to knock for her to let me in. Her ass fell asleep and didn't hear me knocking, but her cousin did and thought someone was trying to break in, and they called the cops. I should now explain that they lived in a neighborhood where they were the only family that wasn't cops, so response time was ridiculous. So, I see police lights and think, fuck, I need to run. As soon as I flip over the fence, I fall. I stand up to have 10 guns pointed at me by all of their neighbors. I'm trying to explain what I'm doing, which is really hard when you got no shirt on, silk boxers, a cowboy's triple fat goose and OJ's gloves on. They cuff my ass and haul me out to the front. When my girl's parents see me, they bust out laughing, identify me and tell the neighbors/cops to let me go. One cop throws me in the back of the cruiser and rips my ass for being so stupid and letting me know I could have got shot. Everything he said was true. All for sex. Luckily, we've been married for almost 28 years, so we got that going for us. What a hilarious story. And with a nice ending. Story 2. I met a girl at the gym who told me that she was really into running and desperately wanted to run the Swiss Alps Mountain Marathon, but wanted to do it with someone. I lied and said I was also a runner and I loved running marathons too, and said I would sign up with her. Sure enough, for weeks later I'm in Switzerland running a mountain marathon, having never run a single race before in my life. After the race, we dated for almost 2 years. That's actually really impressive, just to wing it like that. Story 3. Drove 45 minutes right after an ice storm and almost died. Things you do when you're young and dumb.
Shit. I drove 8 hours from Minnesota to Missouri during a blizzard. Fishtailed on ice and drive down into the center ditch on the interstate. Realized I could make it back up if I punched it. Got back on the interstate and kept on driving. All in the name of getting some.
Was this strictly for a bang? I'd be so worried they'd get over the mood, or get off themselves and be like, WTF, do I have a strange dude coming to my house for, pass, or something happening on the way like an emergency, or whatever, lol.
I did this in Indiana once, traveling home from Christmas. Except there were hundreds of cars on the interstate. Everyone in front of me abruptly hit their brakes and slowed down. I hit my brakes and went sideways at about 50 miles per hour, swerved into the median, which was probably 10 inch deep in snow, only to find there was a police car stuck in the snow right in front of me. Swerved deeper into the ditch, then started correcting back onto the highway, only to find there was also an old pickup stuck in the snow in front of the police car. Somehow managed to squeeze between the two, back onto the highway, and get her under control between all the other still moving, bumper-to-bumper traffic. And this was in a goddamn 19-foot-long, 1987 Grand Marquis. Literally all happened in about 3 seconds. And I still had 4 more hours of driving to do. And had almost slid off into a ditch after hitting a massive chunk of ice a couple hours earlier. Got back to my town and pulled into the parking area of the truck stop I worked at and just fell asleep. My fucking nerves have never been so shattered.
Definitely worth it. Even if you didn't get laid, you get to tell a story in the future.
Story 4. I had just moved into my first apartment. Invited a girl over to watch a movie and I didn't have a bed, only an air mattress. I didn't have Wi-Fi yet. I made a Netflix account that afternoon and used the hotspot on my phone for the TV. She ended up coming back like 6 times. Good times.
She liked Netflix that much. You had the bare essentials but you made it work. I salute you, friend.
Story 5. I was studying abroad in Sweden for a few years when I was 20 to 21. One winter night I met a girl out at the club and we walked back to her place. It was a university town, so the student neighborhoods were all pretty close. Her apartment was about 1/3 of a mile from mine. Things start to heat up in her bedroom and she asks if I have a condom. I didn't. She checks and she doesn't either. I knew I have some back in my apartment, but no way to get them without going home. I ask her if I can run and grab one. Should take 10 minutes tops. She agrees. I throw on my clothes and got to the door to put on my shoes, but I can't find them. It's night. I've been drinking, and in Sweden a lot of these student apartments have everyone's shoes near the door because it's standard to not wear them inside. I just say fuck it and go outside in my socks. Remember back when I said it's a winter night in Sweden? Well, it's snowing, and it has been all week. There's snow everywhere, and I'm in my socks. So I run as fast as I can, a third of a mile back to my apartment, in my socks, in the snow. I get returned with condom, out of breath, freezing cold, and my legs are soaking wet. I dried off and jumped in bed. I got laid. So, worth it, I guess. That's pure dedication. Story 6. Does the opposite also count? I was couch surfing at some girl's place in winter. She had me sleep on the floor right next to her bed, and her house was really badly insulated, so I was freezing with just a thin mat and light sleeping bag. I wasn't really attracted to her, but, Lord, did her thick duvet and large double bed look inviting, so I put on my best seduction mode and it worked. I got upgraded to business. So that's the most desperate time I got laid for a bit of warmth.
Waiting for her post, I had to turn the furnace off in the middle of winter to get this knucklehead who slept on my floor into my bed.
Damn, just squirted coffee out my nose.
Hey there, if you've been enjoying the content so far, don't forget to hit that subscribe button and ring the notification bell. By doing so, you'll never miss an update and you'll become a valued part of our community. Your support means the world to us, and together, we can keep this channel growing and thriving. Thanks for being awesome. Story 7. When I had just turned 18, I went to a nightclub for the first time and wasn't really sure how to approach a girl, so I was just dancing kind of wildly for ages, and eventually an older lady, in her late 30s, thought I was cute or something and started dancing with me. We went to a table to talk and she kept talking shit about her ex, so I was just kind of listening and saying encouraging stuff. At some point I was getting another round of drinks and her friend gave me some sort of a warning. I didn't understand saying not her and I didn't really get what she meant, so I ignored it. Eventually she asked me to go back to her place, and when we got there I wasn't really sure what would be appropriate or inappropriate, so I kind of waited for her to make the first move, and we ended up just sitting on the couch and kissing a bit. I was taking it really slow and she mentioned something about that, which I finally took as a hint that it was safe to move on to the next base. But when I started touching her, she randomly mentioned something about meeting her family. I was like, oh. I thought this was a more casual thing. I wasn't interested in actually dating, because she was way older than me, and she was like, oh my god, all men are the same, and started crying. I stayed with her the rest of the night just talking and trying to comfort her, and in the morning she showed me her enormous collection of dolphin toys. I said they were really nice and left. So yeah, that was my first unsuccessful attempt at trying to get laid. My friend told me I should have just lied and told her I would love to meet her family in order to get laid, and we had an argument about how unethical that would have been.
That's when she would have said, great. They'll be here first thing tomorrow morning. Then you end up with a whole ass new family and having to live a lie until she passes, but you know. Pros and cons.
How did you guys meet? Last night at the club. Anyway, I got a bail.
Welp, slaps hands on both knees and stands up, looks at wrist where my watch should have been. Time to go. Bye. Story 8. I tried to get with a Southern Baptist girl once. Like 3 years of side hugs, pretending to enjoy Bible studies and going to church twice a week, trying to impress her dad. Nothing worked. Turns out she was seeing other guys on the side and didn't give a shit about the religion stuff.
That took you 3 years to find out?
Pretending to be a good Christian is like being a Cold War spy. You have to fool your parents, teachers, pastor, church members, and classmates who'd rat you out. All as if your life depended on it.
Story 9. My very first time just after turning 17 for sure. Texting classmate and out of nowhere she mentions her parents are gone for the night. I jokingly say I should come over then, and she actually agreed, which I was not at all prepared for. It was January and pouring rain and 11:30 p.m. But I thought nothing of it and immediately threw on some clothes, snuck out of the house and hopped on my bicycle, then pedaled 4 miles to her house, for what was in my mind at the time, my once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. So I get there and yada yada yada. I came down with pneumonia after that and was out of school for a week. Story 9. I woke up at 3 a.m. and drove from San Diego to San Francisco, in a 30-year-old shitbox only to get dry humped fully clothed for 5 minutes, while her Korean dorm mate made very pungent kimchi rice. I was a horny teenager, so things still worked, but mostly what worked was my brain afterwards, realizing I had a 13+ hour drive back home. Thanks a lot, stupid dong. Story 10. It was 3 a.m. after a night out. All my friends had ditched me and all attempts at pulling in the nightclub had failed. Naturally, McDonald's chicken nuggets were the next best thing, so of course, 20 of those delicious boys had to be mine. Whilst waiting for my order, I decided to talk to a girl who seemingly also had the chicken craving, and we bonded over 3 a.m. nuggets. Long story short, I ended up walking her home and she invited me in to finish off the nuggets. The desperation pull at McDonald's is probably my finest last chance saloon.
Nice. Plus you got chicken nuggets. Very nice.
I approve.
Same here.
Definitely approved.
This is a win for ages.
Story 11. I did not do this myself per se, was a cousin of mine. We were on a camping trip and he started chatting up a girl that was at the campground. Worked on her all day and went to the dance with her that night hoping to score. Mind you, we were both young, 15-ish. I noticed later that night that he was not around the campfire. About 1 o'clock in the morning he comes running back into our camp, wide-eyed and out of breath in a panic. I asked him what happened, and he said, "Man, she's down to have sex, but she wants me to use protection." Being our age, we did not have condoms on hand obviously, so me and him start frantically looking for something he could use in place of a condom. The best we came up with was an empty bread bag and a bread tie. He took both and ran off into the night, and shortly after came sulking back to the camper. She did not let him have sex with her with an empty bread bag, go figure. Till this day, I still give him hell over that one. I call him corn dog. Story 12. As ashamed as I am to admit this, I gotta get it off my chest somehow. A couple years ago, I signed up for a website called Furry Mate where you'd meet and fuck furries. I never used it after I signed up, and I totally forgot about it until last week, but holy shit, I must have been down horrendous to do that. Story 13. Paid for an overpriced hotel room and arranged for a fat Jewish married woman twice my age to come over so that we could smash. It was very difficult, but I managed to come. The flashbacks of me going down on her still give me a gag reflex. Easily by far the worst sex of my life. This is definitely not kosher. Story 14. Tried to get with a Mormon girl who was on a mission. She approached me, giving the whole spiel, and I pretended to act interested. Even read the Book of Mormon and memorized popular verses to convince her I was the real deal. Things got hot and heavy, kissing a bunch, but she stopped me and said she wanted to wait till marriage for sex, and I would have to be baptized. And at that point I admitted I didn't want to marry or be baptized. So she said we could just do anal since that didn't count. This occurred 6 or 7 more times. Always anal. But I guess it didn't count. Story 15. Met a girl on Craigslist personals back in the day. Lied about being of age was MT first thing. I've always looked older when I have facial hair. Told her I was 22 when I was really 17. She was 31. But to skip the dating and shit, I told her I had a rare blood disease and probably wouldn't see 25, so I'm trying to live my life the most right now. We fucked literally all night. I experienced squirting for the first time and learned more things than anyone had ever taught me. 10/out of 10 don't regret. I miss 2008.
Glad you're beating your rare blood disease.
Story 16. This was actually my best friend/roommate. There was a girl that we went to high school with. She dropped out because this 35 years old man that she very proudly stated she seduced while on a family camping trip got her knocked up. And yes, he was apparently married and had kids of his own already. She was pretty much a perfect cliche and became a stripper who traveled all over the local island area dancing. This included towns sometime 3 to 4 hours away. While he was at the Rippers he met her, and while chatting her up, she sold him on her sob story about how, "I'd love to go out with you, but I can't because I'm too busy, but I'm dancing up in X-Town next weekend. You could come get me after my shift and drive me back home and we could hang out on the drive. So, he loads up on the Saturday night, drives 3-ish hours up island to the town to get her at 3 a.m. when her shift was over. She promptly fell asleep immediately in the car, slept the whole drive, then wouldn't let him come inside her place because my kid is sleeping and I don't want them to wake up. He did this 8 more times. Of varying drive length, but always more than 2-ish hours. Every time she'd get in the car and immediately fall asleep. Finally, he got her to meet sometime in the actual daytime, and he finally got laid. Then right afterwards she's talking about how he has to go because her boyfriend was showing up soon. He then did the driving for her 3 more times before I finally convinced him through pointing out that he had spent over $1,000 in gas money on her to stop. Story 17. Got wasted and Ubered to this chick that refused to send or post body pics. When I got there midway through her neighborhood, trailer park, the road was blocked off. So I had to jump 2 fences at 40 and walk through the mud. Upon getting to her house, she was huge and an alcoholic. Literally lived off disability with her mom and sat in the carport and drank vodka all day. She hadn't bathed and had a weird smell. I did the deed anyway. The entire time she was incredibly rude. I spent the night and couldn't fix anything to eat as she said only her mom cooked. So I opened the day with vodka. Eventually, I was given a fucking banquet Salisbury steak dinner. I was so upset. I questioned my life decisions and left. Don't be me. As we wrap up today's video, I once again want to hear from you. Share in the comments the most unique or desperate thing you've ever done in the pursuit of love or connection. And don't forget to hit that like button, subscribe for more entertaining content, and ring that notification bell so you never miss an update. Thanks for joining us today.